Hello viewers, welcome to Stereo 3D Productions. As you may know, this YouTube channel is Canadian. And I've always wanted to be able to show you my homeland through some kind of presentation or another in order to represent my location. But I'm really excited right now to announce that The Forest VR, now available on Steam. If you own the game The Forest, you also have the VR beta available, is a very accurate simulation of living in Canada. So what we're going to do now is we together are going to go and explore my homeland of Canada by playing The Forest VR beta. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new game so I can show you how Canada is from the start of this demonstration. It's a very well known fact that Canada's climate and wildlife is pretty extreme. It's very difficult to survive in. One of the very common things we see in Canada is that 9 out of 10 commercial airliners crash in the forest. So the simulation starts off very, very accurately by showing us what happens every other 10-15 minutes in Canada. Now there is a business around salvaging crashed airplanes in the forest. We're going to talk about that as we go because my homeland is not friendly to jet airliners. Yet another one downed. So let's go ahead and explore Canada, shall we? Really happy with this representation. If you go in the forest in Canada, take a little hike, be very careful not to get attacked by something. But if you manage to actually get around in a forest deep enough, you will eventually come across crashed aircraft, and it will look a lot like this. Almost exactly like this, actually. So this is a very, very accurate depiction. For some reason, our wilderness, some trees reach several kilometers high, and they tend to cut airplanes in half as they are flying. And it's a really tough situation to work in, right? Here we go. So what you do if you're on one of these flights and you crash deep enough in the forest. As a Canadian, I know this. It's happened to me 6 times already. I've flown on airliners about 12 times. So you can understand the frequency at which this happens. But the first thing you want to do is just equip yourself with tools. Whatever you can find on the crashed aircraft right off the bat is very important. So you really want to make sure to sweep back and forth through the fuselage, luggage compartments, anything that you may not think of normally. Now you got to think of everything. She may actually have cloth on her. I'm so sorry, Wendy, for doing this to you, but I'm gonna need that cloth. I did not skin her, I took the cloth. Us Canadians are very polite, even though we live in a arid climate. But here we go. You have to step out in the wildlife, obviously, because crashed aircraft is usually not a very good place to stay in. What you want to do is you want to loot people's luggage. The first thing you want to do in Canada if you're in a crash, once you get out of the aircraft, of course, is just don't look, don't do anything, loot the luggage as quickly as you can. So we're looking at our first instances of wildlife. Canadian wildlife here. Look at this, the beautiful deer that I've not yet seen in this simulation. This is a very accurate simulation. It's a Canadian deer in the forest right here. Very lovely. I wonder if there's moose. You also want to kill birds because that will be the easiest thing to kill. Birds never fly away when you swing an axe at them, at least not in Canada. Canadian birds are very peaceful, kind of like the citizens of this country, and they tend to let you basically whack them with an axe I wonder if it's the same about squirrel. Let's see. Yep, exactly the same. So I can actually get a skin out of the squirrel. Very important to collect squirrel skin and meat, apparently. So, there we go. I believe I've taken care of all the luggage I can find, unless the plane crash got some more scattered over here. I'm going to keep my bearings on this crash site, but we're going to go ahead and go and survive in the woods, as you must often do in Canada. Take a lot of precautions. Now, for some of you might say, oh, but if I go to Canada, I'm maybe not going to go on an airliner, so I'll take that precaution, and then I won't be in such danger of crashing and having to survive. Now, here's the deal. The reason why us Canadians are so good at survival is because we have to deal with this whether our jet crashes or not. Outside of each of our houses, this wildlife is almost identical. We have to deal with this even outside of our homes. So we're kind of familiar with everything that can happen. So what you want to do first is find a place that has one of the most important things you'll need to survive in the woods. Even though I picked up a whole bunch of drinks back there on the plane, those are not eternal. So I'll want to look for something to drink, really. It's that simple. Now, I've crashed about 6 times, I said, survived crashing about 6 times in the Canadian wilderness. So, obviously, you may understand that I recognize places. So I found a place that I already knew that was included in the simulation of my homeland of Canada. So I went ahead and decided to just follow my bearings and actually head for a place that I knew. I mean, they've done a really good job in the forest here because I recognize every little bit of this authentic location that we have in Canada. That, you know, I used to take a plane that was always on the same route and it would always crash right around the same place. I actually came in real life here twice to survive and not get eaten by anything in the wildlife. So the first thing you want to do when you find a location, so I'm going to actually select this place because I'll show you how it works here. They've really remodeled this so well that I can work it by memory. I can actually hop over these rocks here and visit the neighboring shore without doing too much work. And this also protects me from the wildlife. Should they come at me from one end, I just have to hop onto this shore and vice versa. So it's actually proven really, really trustworthy. Now I'm going to open my survival guide. Every Canadian carries one of these in their pockets. It's very important. If you are a tourist to our country, you're not handed like a tourism guide or a welcome guide. This is the book you will be given at the moment you cross our border to make sure we would like to make sure in our country that everyone, including tourists, survive when they come here. Like, we don't want you people coming here and having a bad time and dying, so we make sure that you have all the information you need. Also, with the high chance that your plane crashes, well, we want to make sure that you're well prepared for that eventuality. So you may notice, be careful when you pick up rocks in Canada, there's always spiders underneath them. Another accurate part of this simulation is very authentic simulation. There we go. Now, if you recall, earlier I actually killed some birds. So we're going to go ahead and cook these birds. I'm going to put some money in the fire because once you crash, money is no longer important. You can actually go ahead and burn it all. The Canadian government will actually refund the money to you. So there we go. We got some meat on the fire. Now, this is not a stereotype. We do this all the time in Canada. I mean, every day I have to get out and cut at least 4 trees by hand to finish building my house. And in the winter, we like to cut down more trees because we use the trees to strengthen our igloos. Because an igloo you'd think is all snow and everything, but it's not. It actually takes a good deal of lumber to straighten the assembly of our habitats, even the igloos. So we're always cutting down trees. We're kind of like human beavers, basically. That's as if we are in Canada. And right now, I mean, this is Canadian summer. This is like totally tropical weather for us. It is a little cold during the night, but it's pretty much, there are some places on this map where you can freeze to death, but very tropical. Very, very tropical. So here I have a hunting shelter and a log cabin. I'm going to start with the hunting shelter here. And I'm going to give myself, with this hunting shelter, a view on the water. And I may not want to take it too far in. There we go. Alright. Let's get ourselves some lumber. So far, the simulation is just unbelievably accurate. Like, you wouldn't believe it. To any Canadian out there, I recommend you play this. You'll be like, wow, this brings me back home. It's literally like a VR simulation of my home. Yes, it actually is, no joke, one of the most accurate depictions of Canada I've ever seen in my life. Now there we go. When you create a hunting shelter in Canada, don't worry. At this point, if the wilderness were to kill me, I'm safe. This is the same thing in real life. I can actually respawn at the location of my hunting shelter if I save my game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first slot here. So it basically works exactly the same in real life. You create your hunting shelter. Only in Canada, it's really an exclusive to Canada. You will have a little save icon floating above the shelter you've built, and you'll be able to save your points. So if you get killed by anything at this point, you will respawn back in time to when you saved your game. Very important fact about Canada people did not know. And right now you see I have a little moon icon. This means I can actually sleep. So we're going to go ahead and sleep. There we go. I've survived the night. Now, I'd like to bring a bit of criticism. This is a lack of realism on their part as far as Canada goes. That is not how we sleep. You don't press a button and wait. Although you can do the spawn thing and just awaken, resurrect, kind of like Jesus at your hunting shelter, we cannot sleep an entire night in only a few seconds. So that is really something I guess was made a little simplified with this game. What a beautiful morning in my wonderful land of Canada. Now, if you remember, I did a first impressions video on this Canadian wilderness simulator, which is, by the way, very accurate. And I had criticized its crafting mechanics. But I may be actually wrong. Because this time I was able to use what we call in the custom category the custom foundation. And once I create, now here's the one catch. Canadians out there may know that you can actually create transparent blueprints with things, right? If you're Canadian, I'm sorry to all you U.S. citizens or otherwise, people from outside of Canada, even if you come to Canada as a tourist, you will not have this power. This is a power that Canadians are born with only. But you could go ahead and create a sort of blueprint to a foundation, right? And here's where the problem lies. is if you were then to go and say, try to attach custom walls to it, it's not gonna work. Why doesn't it work? Because, folks, you haven't built this foundation yet. It turns out it's an exception. You can do this with almost anything. What I could do is build this foundation, and then I could add the custom walls around it, like I did the hut behind it. Now the problem is you won't be able to put your custom roof until you finish at least one segment of the custom wall. So you can partially build the wall, but when it comes to the foundation, you cannot partially build the foundation. You must fully construct the foundation before you are able to put a wall around it. So that got me a little confused, because as a Canadian, I was born with the ability to create blueprints without having to pre-construct any part. In the Canadian wilderness, I can put up these transparent blueprints and put the entire structure together before I even add a piece to it, which is not the case in this simulator. A little bit of criticism, but I gotta say, it's a lot better than the criticism I had to give it the first time I played it, where it's mostly that it's not clear, because had I known a few things up ahead of time, I would have actually done a way better job of my construction. Unfortunately, well, we can't have everything in one shot, can we now? So that's what we do in Canada. Remember, we're a bunch of lumberjacks. We all live in the woods. I mean, my house, I know I'm being a survivalist right now. This is more like a Canadian survivalist training simulator. But my house looks a lot like that. The place I live in right now is just a very large log cabin. And the reason why you can't see logs behind me is because the walls are actually plastered in. I mean, we're not in the Stone Age anymore. We've evolved our construction techniques a little bit. But it remains that from the outside, my entire apartment building looks like a log cabin. And look, some of you will say, oh my god, you've said what your building looks like, you're gonna get doxxed. Unfortunately, not they all look like log cabins. If you come to Canada, you'll be very confused. Sometimes the handwriting on the addresses are really, really bad, because they're basically hand-carved addresses. Now, just like in Canada, sometimes trees will take about a few hours to cut for some reason. I'm not too sure why this is taking so long. Come on! Cut, you piece of shit. Yeah, this is, I don't know why, and sometimes it really comes down quickly. This is probably just an aspect of the simulator, again. So I gotta be careful here. Canadian wilderness, not friendly. Especially not in this simulator, which trains you for when you crash in an unknown place. I mean, our log cabins are in a city where things are controlled, it's safe. And there we go. I even have a few sticks I can pick up. We'll go ahead and do that. If you're walking in the Canadian wilderness, even if you're not lost, I always recommend picking up sticks. Now, another bit of criticism I had given this simulator, this Canadian wilderness simulator, at the first impressions, that I may have been actually wrong about, is the following. Check this out. I complained that when I put up the structure, it boxed me in. It gave me no choice but to be pretty much trapped in. This is because I can actually select the wall with my right hand like this, make sure I'm looking and pointing at it, and then with my left hand, I can change. I can cycle each segment's type for wall, wall with window, wall with door locked on the inside, or wall with door locked on the outside. So right now what I may want here is a wall with a door locked on the outside, and that's it. And then if I go get the log that rolled down and keeps getting away from me like that over here, at it, I will be building a wall with a door locked from the outside. So slowly but surely, this cabin is coming together correctly. So I was wrong about my assessment on a few of the things, but I do wish, and just like true Canadian building, that you can make the entire blueprint before you even put in a single piece. I guess this was for the simulator's challenge purposes. I've only crashed 6 times, so maybe there's some things I don't remember. Maybe when you've crashed from an airplane, you lose a bit of your superpowers, your Canadian superpowers, and you absolutely must finish your foundation or in order to be able to snap walls. And you also must finish at least one wall segment before you can actually attach a roof to it. Now, if you're Canadian, you know of our national dish, which is campfire cooked lizard. It's very delicious. I know I've had bunny earlier and some bird, but bird is just because birds are very easy to air kill. I mean, a lot easier than any other animal in the forest. But our delicacy in Canada, the main ingredient you wish to eat if you visit, is sort of weird scuffed iguana meat. It's absolutely delicious, an absolutely unique Canadian delicacy that you just simply won't find elsewhere. So, as you can see, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime, it's high noon, and even though it does get warmer, it still is a Canadian climate, so it gets pretty tough out here. Since we're expert lumberjacks in Canada, a very simple lesson on how to cut down a tree. I'll give it to you. Straight up from a Canadian here. Best lesson you'll ever get. So you don't have to whack like a crazy moron. Now, you really don't have to do that. The way we do it in the wilderness is you need to save energy, right? You go gentle. You go gentle. Just tap that tree. It'll smash right up. As long as you have a good axe. Look at that. Look at how gentle you have to be. No force applied, and the tree will basically cut down as easy as that. And you're not going to sweat, you're not waste energy, because we already spend a lot of energy cutting, but actually carrying the wood. So we don't want to waste even more energy cutting the trees down themselves when we just simply don't have to. So my suggestion is just gently tap those trees as gently as possible. And this simulator has it as realistic as possible. Cannot praise them anymore for this. They've done a really, really good job with that. With my truck. Yeah! So tonight we're eating a more common Canadian meal. We're basically going to be eating rabbit because I did build a trap and I was able to catch one, so why not have some rabbits? Always pick up bird feathers, by the way, when you're in the Canadian wilderness, especially when they're given to you like this without having to hit anything. These lovely birds will give you what you need. Oh, and we've caught a lizard. Sorry, buddy. I'll go ahead and let you go. I eat some tasty rabbit. And tonight, I may opt for something I picked up on the airplane. Always do that when you're on the airplane. Steal the goods. Because if you're caught without fresh water, you'll at least have a temporary solution to the problem by drinking some booze or something that can hydrate you a little. So now I'm going to be careful because I'm wandering into the Canadian wilderness at night, which is quite dangerous actually. I could get mauled by something here. It'd be really, really dangerous, so I'm trying to work as quickly as possible. I'm doing this because my shelter just like in Canada, if you don't have a little moon icon next to your shelter or your lodging, it means you're not allowed to sleep yet. All homes in Canada have a cool down period before you can sleep again. So once you sleep, it makes you wait about 12 hours, maybe a little more even. So you gotta wait that out, and while you wait that out, I mean, you gotta be careful, but you can continue working on your projects, such as I'm doing right now. And as long as you're careful, you're not gonna get devoured by anything. Oh no. The wilderness here includes cannibals, and these guys can be quite a hassle. This is also why you need an axe when you go in the Canadian wilderness. There's not much you can do about these retards. They will keep coming and harassing you, and if you don't kill them, they're gonna destroy your shit. Ah, that's right, that's right. That's right. We'll be careful, make sure there aren't any more. And I'm going to carry the body in the water. Now you may see there's another one down there. It might be gone. But I dispose of the bodies to discourage them from gathering. Because if you leave one body lying around, the other stupid cannibals are going to find. So this is probably the worst part of Canadian wildlife that is not well known. It's a government cover-up. Because our government's kind of embarrassed by the fact that our forests are covered in fucking cannibals. But that's it. We really have to take care of that problem and just basically fight for our survival. Now, good thing they're not in the city, but if you crash, if your plane crashes in the middle of a forest, it's really the worst case scenario for these guys. You're bound to run into one, and you really need to take care of them. What I like about this simulation software is they really got the cannibals down to a T. I mean, they are incredibly threatening, and you are to fight for your life at night, which is pretty much how it is in Canada. If I wander, even if I'm in a city, right, with my log cabin apartment, if I wander too far from it, I have to fend for my life, even near the city. So right now I think I'm going to call it a night, and I'm going to sleep, which makes the cannibals actually go away. And we're just going to sleep and wait till morning and take care of things in the morning where there is guaranteed to be less cannibals. So we have our breakfast right here. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of breakfast here. There we go. Got my breakfast. I'm going to select my breakfast, select my axe. You know, there's a bug with the simulation software where it's very difficult to put the meat. I've been actually working around that bug the whole time using I take my axe after I select the meat, and then I'm able to put the meat. It's pretty simple that way. I don't know if by the time this video is out there will be an update to the game, but if you're finding yourself unable to put the meat on the fire, select the meat from your inventory from here, then close, and then you're going to have the meat in your hand, right? Then you open your inventory again, and you select your axe, and you grab it, and you're still going to have the prompt to put the meat on the fire, and then you can press your right trigger, and it'll go ahead and put the item you want. Ah, realistic Canadian rainbow. Isn't that beautiful? It just rained in Canada. I bet you there's a pot of gold at the end of this one, just like our rainbows have. All Canadian rainbows are known to have a beautiful pot of gold at the end of them. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy son's command. This is to scare the wildlife away, by the way. They know that a real Canadian is there because he knows the lyrics to the Canadian anthem, national anthem, and that actually scares them into knowing that you're a true survivalist because you're a Canadian. So that does help. So you'll often hear Canadians walking in public, which our cities look a lot like this. There's just a little less trees than that, and there's a whole bunch of log cabins around. But you'll often hear Canadians while in public walking around just proudly singing the national anthem. We're just like that. We do that all the time. Alright, I'm carrying my 2 last logs for the day. And those will happen to also be the ones that complete my rooftop. I don't know about these openings. Alright. I have a bit of a situation at my new home where these assholes are asking for it. Hey. Yeah, that's right. You better run. Fucking cannibals. Always destroying our creations. Oh, he's not running. He's coming back. I can take him. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Wanna fuck my property? Yeah, that's right. Run away, pussy. Run away. Don't you dare fucking come back. It's really... I didn't hire renovators. I said I didn't hire renovators. I did not hire renovators. Wow. Rough night. Anybody else? Anybody else? The cannibals are very active tonight. Very, very active. And what I'm gonna do now, this is a bit scuffed here, but I used the custom wall feature to make a second row of walls. See, this is where a simulation cannot get as close to reality as possible. But I don't yet know with the simulator how to fill in the gaps in the roof. And I would very much like to have those gaps filled in. So what I did is I have basically put a custom wall on the second floor and then just destroyed the ones that were on the outside. It's going to look a bit weird, but still, it's going to do the purpose it needs to achieve. Defensive wall. Let's see what we can do with one of these. I know that we can start it here and extend it. like so. This is going to be a long construction project. So there's going to be another episode of this specialized Canadian Wilderness Survival Guide by Stereo 3D Productions. And I want to build that. It should be a very interesting place to live once it is closed off. And what I wonder now is how many pieces of wood. Oh, it's all in segments of 5. Alright, good. So as I build it, it will close off. And yeah, it looks like the reason why I have a lot of wildlife coming my way is because they happen to kind of maybe live there. So I'm just going to do something to piss them off. Also, I would like some cloth. Thank you very much. See if I can go repay the favor from last night, or if there's going to be some around. Oh. One of the passengers in the crash had something pretty deep to express. So I'm surprised I can't actually attack their structures or set them on fire. That would have been funny. No, apparently cannot attack these structures. So we're coming to return the favor to these goddamn cannibals by just stealing their shit, basically. It turns out that they don't appear to be here at daytime, so I'm just gonna go ahead and fuck their shit up a little bit. You know what sucks though? I can't do this. I can't actually smash their shit. They can smash mine though. So it looks like I'm changing clothes here. I mean, if you're ever in the Canadian wilderness and you find luggage and your clothes are dirty, it's a great way to get a change of clothes. I mean, it's very hard to do the laundry out here, so you're better off just finding your change of clothes. Ooh, this is good. Laptop computer, the chip circuit. So these guys are apparently well, they take the computers. I don't think they're smart enough to actually use them, but that's an interesting thing to see. And of course, if you're ever in the wildlife and you have an axe and you see a laptop computer, all you have to do is whack it and you will be given a perfectly cut generic circuit board. This is not just for people in the Canadian wilderness. It's basically any laptop. If you want a generic functional circuit board that is perfectly intact, just go ahead and whack a laptop with a plain axe and you'll actually get that. So this is ugly. I disapprove of that. But what I like is the fact that I get to return my appreciation for all this. Just really show them how much I am so happy that they came to my place and took a few whacks at my shit. Is this a passenger? Oh man. Oh man. I just want to assure you that this simulator is trying to add a shock factor. This is not that very Canadian. Even our wildlife respects Americans. Okay, if you're an American tourist, this will likely not happen to you. You may get killed and mauled by cannibals, but they're not going to go this far with you. I mean, that's going pretty damn far, if you ask me. That's as far as I've seen them go. So cans of soda, very good. I don't know if that's beer or soda, but I'm gonna take it. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Don't you come back and whack my house. Hey, what do you think of me doing that to your shit? Huh? What do you think of me doing this to your shit? Huh? You like that? You like that? You want some? You want some of this? You're looking like you a lot want some of this. Come get some. That's right, run. Don't you fucking come back from my shit, I'll take your shit down. That's right. Alright folks, you are watching Stereo 3D Productions and this very special Canadian Wilderness Survival Guide using this very special simulation software known as The Forest VR Beta. Extremely realistic, down to a T. It's got everything about Canadian wilderness. And I will do more of these guides, but today we covered the main basics. First off, the fact that 9 out of 10 commercial airliners that fly over Canada crash. This is a very important thing to know because you're almost certain to crash if you're flying over a country even though you're intending to go somewhere. So if you do now, by watching this video, you'll know how it starts off, how to find your way. We've learned that first few things you have to do is a small hunting shelter and also a fire in order to go ahead and cook your meat. So there's just a few basics that people miss sometimes, and we have some tourists that actually their plane crashes and then they actually are deceased after only a few days because they do not know these simple basics that I'm showing you right now. So those of you who've seen this video right now, you have a greater chance of survival if your plane crashes in the Canadian wilderness. So it looks like I'm going to have company, unfortunately, on both ends, or at least the cannibals on that side are not causing too much of a problem, but I'm seeing light over here. I think I'm going to get some visitors tonight. I'm not entirely sure. Try not to attract too much attention and keep that for the next part of our guide. So far I'm just trying to feed myself, get enough food to get through the day and night. But no, these guys, I told you I don't want any salesmen, especially not at night. Get the hell out. Come here. That's right, loose teeth. You're dead. You're so dead. Alright. So, I mean, that's how we take care of this problem. It is a problem. Once you've stolen their weapons, for some reason their weapons are a little stronger than an airplane axe. I don't understand. This might be on part of the sim. It's not entirely realistic. But, I mean, I take what I can get, right? I take what I can get. Some things are extremely realistic. Some things are almost there. Good enough to practice survival in the Canadian wilderness. That's about it. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you next time.